Welcome to the real estate crowdfunding show, Syndication in the Digital Age at gowercrowd.com, where today you're going to hear from one of the most influential social media influencers talking about, well, how to find influencers so you can leverage their reach to raise more capital for your projects. I am Adam Gower, and my guest today is Neal Schaffer, who is an author, speaker, and expert on social media and digital marketing. Like everything in the digital world, nothing's really changed from the way you're used to raising money for your deals when you try to network for more investors. You ask a lawyer or an accountant or financial advisor for introductions. And that works because you trust the person making the introduction. And so you're predisposed to trust someone they introduce to you, and that person is predisposed to trust you. It's the same online. If someone you trust talks well about an investment opportunity, you're going to be predisposed to think favorably of that. And that's exactly how influencer marketing works. Of course, influencer marketing doesn't stand in isolation of the need to have a robust, credible presence online. And if you'd like to know more about what that entails, just go to the podcast page for today's show at gowercrowd.com and sign up for the whiteboard workshop that walks you through the entire process. It's totally free, and you can watch that right now at gowercrowd.com on the podcast page. Neal Schaffer is not only an influencer himself, but is a master of influencer marketing. And here's what you're going to be hearing about today: how real estate developers can use influencer marketing, how to find influencers, and exactly how to pitch to an influencer once you find them. Of course, you'll learn a whole lot more as well. Remember, you can watch this entire podcast as well as a selection of short highlight clips from this episode, as well as accessing the whiteboard workshop by going to the podcast page at gowercrowd.com. And as Neal Schaffer also speaks fluent Japanese, almost as well as I do, he said, removing tongue from cheek, I'll introduce him accordingly. Dozo, Neal Sensei, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Neal, thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm really delighted to talk to you.
Adam, thank you so much for reaching out to me. Wow, I had no reasoning or I had no way of knowing we have this much in common. So I'm literally at a loss of words, as you could tell. So it's
exactly. So we covered a little bit of background, which is excellent. So it's really
it's a pleasure to be here.
It's a real pleasure. So what I'm really interested in hearing from you today, Neal, is about influencer marketing. And we've talked a bit about the audience that's listening.
Yes.
And you know that this is a brand new opportunity, blue ocean opportunity for developers to raise money online and for social media experts like you to help them understand what the opportunities actually are. So let's talk about influence marketing. Let's start at the very high level. Sure. And then let's brainstorm about how developers might be able to use influencer marketing to raise money online.
Sure. So, we are still in the middle of a digital transformation, right, in general. But we have seen that consumers, people with money or people without money, everybody has become digital first. So things that worked, and this is just general marketing, but I think it's really important to have the same level of understanding. We can't do the same things we did 10, 20 years ago and expect them to work today. So it just so happens that the companies that have a lot of money, some of the more progressive companies like out of Silicon Valley, have been really first into what we call the digital transformation. And we normally talk about it in terms of IT, but I think it's equally important for sales and marketing. And we've seen marketing become the first, and now we have things like social selling, salespeople using social media to help them gain prospects, what have you. So, over the course of time, as consumers have become digital first, brands and businesses have been trying to play catch up. And we are still there today. And now, influencer marketing obviously is a type of social media. Basically, influencers are content creators. They are content creators. Back in the early days, they were bloggers, they were YouTubers. Now they might be an Instagrammer. They might be a linked influencer, as LinkedIn calls them. They might be big on TikTok, which probably is not relevant for today, as is Snapchat. But needless to say, these are people that are content creators, right? So, they have something to say that's of interest to people. They're often experts, and they've developed a community, and this community trusts them. So if they say something and recommend something, not everybody is going to go ahead and buy it, but it's going to pique their interest that this person actually made this recommendation. Why this is important is, I started my social media marketing consulting company back in 2010 in January, when I had, in the course of 2 weeks here in Orange County, California, I had four different, I had a $30 billion asset management company reach out to me. I had UC Irvine reach out to me. I had a residential landscaping company reach out to me. And I had a UCI computer science professor who was working on his own sort of internet technology reach out to me. In the course of 2 weeks, four companies saying, look, we know we need to do social media. We don't know what we need to do. We don't know what we don't know, so we need your help, right? So that was 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And perhaps in your industry, because obviously the laws have only recently changed, so you've had to accelerate that digital transformation. This is still something that even some of you listening might still be trying to wrap your hands around. And that's okay, because not every business gets it or is doing it well, right? But over the course of a decade, as marketers and brands figured out how to do social media marketing, they started running into a big problem. And the big problem is that we have these things called social networks, right? It's social media, but at the end of the day, it's Facebook, who also owns Instagram and WhatsApp and Messenger. It's Twitter, it's LinkedIn, owned by Microsoft. So you have these social networks that are like, okay, we got to turn a profit here. And all of you listening know more about that than I do. But we need to turn up, we have investors now, we're on the stock market, and therefore they had to monetize what they were doing. And they did that through advertising, right? But the problem is that if they don't get enough advertising revenue, it doesn't work. But if they have too many ads, then when people tune in to social media, they're going to tune out. And this is what happened to MySpace, and this is what's happened to other social networks. So, I think, Adam, on the webinar you saw me on, maybe I didn't mention this, but I had a chance to tour. I was invited to tour Facebook headquarters, one hacker way. And as you leave Facebook headquarters, they still have that old Sun Microsystems sign up, because they occupied their campus. And it's a reminder to every employee, every time they go home, we do not want to become a dinosaur like Sun Microsystems and lose touch with our audience. So to them, the news feed is their product. It is crucial that they maintain integrity so that whenever someone wakes up and goes into Facebook or Instagram, they're not going to see too many ads, and they're going to see content that resonates with them and keeps them coming back day after day. So guess what? Should Facebook show your best friend's photo? Should they show your parents' video? Should they show an announcement from someone you went to college with that they just had a baby or they got a promotion, a job? Or are they going to show some really, really bad marketing from a brand that's just trying to post a lot on Facebook every day, right? They're going to limit the visibility in the newsfeed to businesses, companies that have a business page, and they are going to give preference to people. And Facebook, we've seen this the most, but every social network is going to go that way. It is supply and demand. It is a limited news feed, right? We can only go through so many posts a day. There's going to be some advertisements, but guess what? The free content is going to be from more and more people. Now, I want to get to the influencer side, because what's interesting is over the past 4 or 5 years, companies like, okay, social media should be free. It's not free, but we'll do paid social. We'll do ads on Facebook and on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. And at that point, it becomes another type of paid media. It's like Google ads, because guess what? Whether it's on Facebook or on Google, it's an ad. People see it as an ad. You have ad blocker software and the whole bit. It's not as trustworthy. But who gets a lot of engagement? And therefore, if you get engagement on your content in social media, Instagram's like, wow, this person gets a lot of engagement every time they post. I want to show it to more people, because if people like it, that's a signal that they're going to stay on Instagram longer. Those are the content creators. Those are the people that we call influencers. Therefore, rather than doing a paid advertisement, organically, you might as well just put your hands in the air and give up, right? But rather than doing a paid social advertisement, why don't we collaborate with these influencers that might be relevant to us and find a way to work together for a win-win, where they might be able to talk about us. Now, the SEC does have some laws that, they can't just talk about you without saying this conversation sponsored or this is an ad. And people get that, right? We've seen this. I was talking to my brother, who is very much into politics. We're not going to talk politics here, but in the American workforce, millennials are now the majority, right? So if you're doing the same, political tactics you did 10 or 20 years ago, they're not going to work today. They're only going to work with a smaller and smaller amount of people. And that's why I think, the potential for crowdfunding is huge, and the potential for a new demographic to educate them on this opportunity, because they don't have any legacy. They don't remember the stock crash of 1989 or 88, like some of us, our Lehman Brothers, what have you, right? They've only seen 10 years of growth, right? How do we get in on this?
Yeah.
So I think it's an opportunity. And I think that, there's a lot of things you can do organically, right? Content's going to be important. Having a robust digital presence is important. But influencer marketing, right, allows you to accelerate past this 10 years of social media that you might not have done. Mm-hmm. And this is why startups that just focus on influencers, like on Instagram, they kick butt over really, really big brands who are afraid to do it, don't do it. They're still stuck in their past social media marketing. They want to maintain their brand. So there's plenty of opportunity, but that's why collaboration can really help you accelerate your efforts. The thing though is, you're a very niche industry. You got to find people that are well trusted, especially when talking about money, right? So, you have to find people that are willing to talk about this, because they're already talking about financial instruments or real estate, for instance, and they have an audience that is wealthy enough to take their advice.
So what is the process? What is the process for doing that? You understand this industry. So how do you find people like that? And then how do you approach them? What's the conversation that you have?
And here's the thing, Adam, I was asking you beforehand, how are people doing these deals? So whenever you reach out to an influencer, it's all about WIIFM. What's in it for me? So a lot of influencers want their own product, right? You're not gonna put an influencer's name on a project that you're developing out in Montana or wherever it is. But influencers also do something called affiliate marketing, which is commission based, right? If you were not to do social media, if you were to go into your community and try to find new deals, you would hire a salesperson who might get zero salary, but 50% commission, whatever it is, or maybe 5 or 10% because you have really, really large deals. So, working through those sort of monetary considerations, because guess what? Anybody who is doing financial blogging or real estate blogging, they probably have those relationships in place. They're probably, and I know we're talking industrial, commercial, not residential, but they may already have a real estate license, right? They may be getting a commission. They may be a financial planner or a financial analyst, someone that's certified that actually gets comped every time someone goes from their Instagram post to their website, clicks, and ends up investing. So these are the sorts of things that in my honest opinion, I would want you to have an army of influencers out there talking about your projects, talking about your company, waiting for you to announce your next project so that they can get in line. And the only way to do that is to provide incentive for influencers. And I'm not talking about, the mommy blogger who's, hey, click this and get 5 cents off your next deal at Target. Right. But it is a very, very special group. And it's probably not a lot of people either, right? So that's why I think you need to combine that with sharing more content. And the content, I think, for the companies listening is going to be educating the market. Just like Adam, you schooled me on this brand new industry. And, if you have a 401k, what have you, if you have $25,000, you can invest, right? And I think that that's a small enough amount that a lot of people probably have, a lot of working professionals have, but nobody knows about the options. So, I can do a 1-year CD on an internet bank, maybe get 2.5%. That's not bad. I can get the same with a 30-day treasury, or I can do the stock market, but we know it goes up and down, or there's other opportunities. And everybody knows about residential real estate, especially in Irvine, California, where I live, right. And the many foreign nationals that have bought real estate on my street. But nobody knows about this industry. And that's why, I think a combination of education together with creating these collaborative relationships where there is some sort of incentive, I think is going to be the golden combination. And the education is really key because, organically, if you educate well and you're not selling and you do the right things to get discovered and maybe a little bit of paid social, it can be a good compliment so that the influencer's talking about you and then people go to your profile and they see you don't even have a profile. Right. You need to have a presence, right? You need to be either you're on the board or you're not, right? So that would be, I think, the really golden combination. And, the influencer is always going to give their perspective. You want to be the authority, and that's where the content comes in. So I like the idea of having both pieces for this digital transformation. But the influencer piece, I think once you find those people, can be extremely valuable and really help accelerate your efforts.
So let's drill down on that. Once you find these people, right? So what are the best practices then for this brand new industry of digital syndication of real estate deals? What are best practices for identifying let's just say if I was to hang up now and to start researching how do I find the best potential influencers online for what I want to do?
So this is where the hardest part comes in, right? You got to do a little data crunching. So if I was looking for information on investment, where would I go? If I was looking for information on real estate investment, where would I go? If I was looking for information on alternative investments, where would I go? So you first need to begin with keywords. What are the keywords that, now if you've worked with Adam and you already have a website, then you already know your keywords. But if you haven't, you need to figure what are those keywords that I want to be found for, that I think if someone is looking for alternative investments on Google, then they better find me because I think that we'd be a good fit for them. If you can find those, go through the top 100 Google search results for every one of those keywords. Maybe it's only 5 keywords, right? See who is talking about what you do. And therefore, from that, you're going to find things like, Intuit.com. You're going to find big sites, big media sites. Those are they're extremely influential. So they are influencers, but they're not people. And they may not work with you. They're going to be pay to play, right?
Companies are people, aren't they? I thought that was...
Well, we're all people at the end of the day, but people that work inside businesses dealing with people that work inside business. But anyway, you need to find, out of those 500, I'm going to assume 10, 20, 30, you're going to find some bloggers or some people that maybe have their own investment firm, small investment firm. They just, resell mutual funds. I don't know. But they are producing, they are content creators and talking about this subject matter because part of it's going to be the education. And that's why you want to point them to your website and say, hey, let me help you understand the potential here so that you can educate your clients and together we can make a lot of money. Right.
When you talk about WIIFM, first of all, is there a way of saying, is that a WIFM? Or do you just WIIFM? Just say WIIFM. Okay.
What's in it for me? With it, whatever you want to call it. My background's more B2B sales, and that's what,
everyone wants to know that. All right. So let's say we've done our homework and we've found, let's say 50.
Well, don't stop. Don't stop at Google, right? Go on to the social networks. Okay, put these in hashtags, alternative investments. Do searches on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Even try Instagram. I don't think you're going to find much on Instagram. You'll probably find more on Twitter. You'll find some on LinkedIn. You'll probably find some on Facebook and Instagram. But once you do that, you're going to get a feel as to who is talking about this subject matter that is important to us. And when they talk about it, do they actually get engagement, right? Especially on the social network. So this should give you a list of people. I don't know, it may be 100. It might be 1,000, but it's a sale, right? Not everyone's going to convert. So you want to have more people on the list than less.
And now what's the first contact? What do you say to somebody on that list? You've got 100 people. Hey, can I give you some money to promote my deal? I mean, how do you do it?
Not so fast. So you found the people, how relevant are they? You actually have to go through and look through their content. Would this person, based on their background, their profile, the About Me page, and what they are talking about, is there going to be a potential interest? Because if there is, and those of you watching would know better than I would, hey, I saw you post about, real estate investment trusts. I'm sure you've heard about crowdfunded, commercial real estate developments. I represent one of the leading companies. We do approximately 20 projects a year. As you know, the laws have changed. We really love your content. You're really smart. And this sort of opportunity appeals to smart people like you. We're looking for people to collaborate with online, on your blog, on the social network of your choice, because we think that educating your community about our product is going to help them. It's going to help you. It's going to help us. It is a win-win-win. Do you have 15 minutes for a phone call so that we can get to know you better and discuss how we might be able to work together? The problem that a lot of people do is it's like going to, we're men, right? Going to assuming that we're heterosexual, going to a female at a bar and saying, hey, I know it's the first time we've met, but I want to take you out to a Greek restaurant and then we'll go out to a movie afterwards without actually knowing what their interest might be, right?
Right.
And that's the problem that, hey, and I get this a lot from brands. Hey, we'd love to offer you a $25 Visa gift card if you post about, our new Fide. And it's like, look, the product's irrelevant and I'm not going to do anything for $25, who do you think, why are you nickeling and diming me if you're this billion-dollar brand? I don't want to do business with you anymore, right? So yeah, and here's the thing that people forget. When you reach out to these people, others are reaching out to them. Everybody who is watching this is going to start doing this, and they're going to start, well, if they're smart, they're going to start reaching out to people. So these people are getting pinged by a lot of other investors, firms, what have you. You want to make sure that that what's in it for them is so important, because if you hit them the wrong way, like you send them an automated impersonal mail, it's forever going to give them a bad impression of your company. And this is what I want to make sure you avoid. Because content creators and influencers, they'll say bad things about companies in social media that brush them the wrong way. So you want to start off as a friend, right? And if you reach out to them the way that I just mentioned, and I think you should be a little bit shorter in your conversation if you could, but if you reached out to them that authentic way, we want to help educate you if you have time, it's a great opportunity. You're not going to leave a bad impression. Now, if they're busy or if they're not interested, they won't respond. That's fine. It's a sale, right? The conversion is the influencer talking about you. So that's why you need a big list. So hopefully everybody wants to jump the gun. So what do I say to them? And it's like, it's going to be different for every person, because every person has their own little niche, right? Some might be we're farmers and we want to invest in land to mitigate risk from, the winter crop. I mean, I don't know, right? There's tons of different variations of people. And I'll tell you just from experience working with a company that was selling a product for newborn moms that had children between 6 months and 3 years old. We use a term in marketing called mommy blogger, but there's 100 variations of mommy bloggers. There's mommy bloggers for children that are autistic. There are mommy bloggers that just want to feed their kids vegan. There are mommy bloggers that just focus on sports, just that focus on education. And because we're people, right? Everybody's different. We're unique creatures. And when you begin to understand that, you become a very, very savvy 21st century marketer, because a lot of marketers are still in the spray and pray, right? Oh, social media. Oh, new channel to deliver our message to the masses. Oh, we'll just spam the feeds with marketing content that we used before social. No, it's a two-way conversation, right? So, I know to a lot of companies that are listening, it can sound scary. It doesn't have to sound scary. It's yourself starting to actually use these networks. You don't have to post anything, but just become a member and just check it out. Do searches. Look at what people are talking about. And I think over the course of time, you begin to get a more of a feel, right? Especially when you see someone, I'll never forget, one of my clients was an auto dealer. I shouldn't say an auto dealer. He's a former auto dealer who provides auto dealer training. And he's like, I just want to work on LinkedIn because we want to use LinkedIn to sell to auto dealers. I'm like, okay, but let's take a look at Twitter and look what people are talking about. And his company was one of the leading auto dealer training companies in the world. And when we did a Twitter search, there was a photo that someone took of their colleague who was asleep at one of their auto dealer trainings from this company. He's like, you can see the CEO just go, oh my God, what's going on here? We need to be on Twitter. So I want you to avoid, people might already be talking about your company. I don't know, right? But the best defense against this is to actually have a presence where you can actually converse with those people. Send them a private message. Hey, if you have any questions about our company, let me know, or whatever it is. So I think at this point, I would fear staying off the networks more than being on them, and what might happen, because at least you have a presence, you have a voice. If you see something, if someone talks to you, you can take it offline. Let's have a phone call. At this point, there's no fear. There's only fear of not making enough money that your competitors might make. And therefore, I think it really isn't your best interest, but you need to be educating, not advertising, and you need to be collaborating, not marketing. So that's where the content and the influencers come into play.
Very interesting. So this particular, have you seen any other industries that are similar to this, blue ocean world that we're looking at now in real estate? Have you seen any others using influencers effectively that are similar, that are not looking to sell a $25 widget or whatever it is?
Well, yeah, I mean, this gets down to B2B influencer marketing, where businesses are selling products and services, enterprise deals in the millions, if not, tens or hundreds of millions. And it is, and that's why I think that it's funny because I do social selling training for one of the largest insurance companies in the United States. So I train their salespeople and their agents. And even though it's B2B, learning how to use LinkedIn for sales for these people is very similar to a B2B salesperson. They're not going after people that work inside organizations of their clients, but they're going after high net worth individuals as well as partners in their community that deal with high net worth individuals. So I think it's a very, very similar analogy. So with B2B influencer marketing, a lot of it is related around content. It's finding those people that are leaders that are talking about, alternative investments. Here's, the top 10 alternative investment bloggers or influencers. Here's their prediction for where you should invest your money next year. And this is a content-rich piece that educates the market, but also gives you the ability to reach out to these people saying, hey, we're going to publish this great piece of content. Here's a little bit, more about our company. And even if they're not interested in your company, if you're able to get a quote from them that you can include, and then you let them know, hey, we published the content. If you like it, please share it on your network. Maybe not all of them, but maybe one or two of these 10 people will share it. And then you have people from their community going to your website to read the blog content, and then they might find it valuable. It also helps serve what we call SEO or search engine optimization. So that sort of content piece is B2B influencer marketing. They've been doing that for several years now. The other thing that B2B influencer marketers do really well, and Adam, I covered this in the webinar you're at, is events. So I don't know if you ever have launch events or educational events where you tell your community or you have a meeting and say, hey, here's our next project. But why don't you invite influencers to that event that they can cover it, right? Fly them out, put them in a nice hotel with the expectation that they're going to, tweet about it. They're going to post about it. I'd even say, hey, all we want you to do is just post 3 times on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We'd love to and it's a great way to get to know them better as well. You'll get to meet them in the flesh. Like Adam, I hope to someday in San Luis Obispo. So, content events, it could be a virtual event. It could be a webinar. But I think those are the golden opportunities and it's just like B2B, it's about education because people just do not know about the opportunity. You got to get out there and teach them. And this will give you a great way to utilize influencers, whether it's for, web content or whether it's for your event, that you're going to kill a few different birds with one stone.
Yeah, that event idea is a very interesting idea, actually.
I've had Cisco Live fly me out for Cisco. I've had Adobe Summit fly me out for Adobe. They've included, video interviews that they posted of me that I obviously shared to my network. I tweeted out using the hashtag. And it's I don't expect in this industry you have those sorts of events. But if you have a event, or if for 2020 you have 10 projects lined up and you want to make sure people put their budget away so that they have money ready when 2020 comes around, you want to generate some buzz, then you want to have that event. And maybe it's a traveling event where you do it in a few different cities. Probably for investors, maybe LA, Chicago, New York. I don't know. I'm just throwing those out there, but it's a great way to invest your budget, I believe, and it's investing in people, right? It's investing in relationships. And I think at the end of the day, this is where you bridge the old part of your industry where the investments were all about relationships, and the new part, because at the end of the day, people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? Social will open the doors for you, but you want to generate those really, really strong relationships so that project in, project out, these people are going to come back every time you have a project, and you're going to build trust with them. And events give you the excuse to bring people together.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting insight. What about conflicts of interest? So let's say an influencer talks about a particular sponsor or developer and goes to an event and talks about it. Are they going to feel honor bound to only talking about that sponsor? Can you ask them only to talk about you? Please don't talk about anyone else. I mean, how does that work?
These are human beings we're dealing with, right? We can, some of it, even though it's relationship based, some of it will be transactional if they're getting a commission, if you're flying them out for an event. But all you can ask them to say is, hey, we'd love if you could post, this is the bare minimum of what we're asking you to do. We want to make sure you use this hashtag whenever you post. We want to have rights to reuse your content for our social advertisements or put it on a website. And we'd love to have the opportunity to interview you. You want to make sure that when they are out there. You treat them with respect. You give them the red carpet, and you want to try to positively influence them, but you cannot limit them to say, hey, you cannot talk about anyone else. I mean, you can have that conversation, but I think from an influencer's perspective, it's like, they do best when they have freedom. The more freedom you give them, the better they're going to be able to relate your content and your company to their audience. So I don't think it's going to work in your favor to limit them in that way, but I would set up a minimum. I would encourage them, and I would try to get as much ROI out of that as I could.
Yeah, it's interesting. The reason I ask is that we are actually working with an influencer.
Okay.
And they've kind of gone a little quiet, and we think it's because they may feel like they have a conflict of interest of some sort. That's actually why I brought it up.
Well, there are some things like brand ambassadors. And I know this because one of my clients is in the hair color company. So if we go on Instagram and look at the most influential stylists, most of them are already working with a hair color company, and they put brand ambassador Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal on their Instagram profile, right? These are people with brand ambassador type of relationships. You can say, we expect that you're not going to work with a competitor for the next year, right. But on the other hand, we're going to commit to giving you a monthly stipend for the next year, whatever it is, right? So if you want to get that sort of relationship, it's there, but I do not recommend you do that up front. I recommend you work with several influencers or even a few and see who performs better for you, who does not go black after a few weeks, because they're people, they get busy, they have projects to come up, right? But yeah, that's the way to navigate conflicts of interest. And if they're an influencer, you should be seeing what they're posting anyway. You should, if they're talking about another competitor, you should know pretty early on.
And Neal, you can track the kind of level of influence that they're having as well, presumably. Set up landing pages that are specifically directed from their blog or whatever it is.
It's all digital. It's as trackable as your creativity, understanding, and implementation is my answer. So those of us like Adam, you're nodding your head because some companies just throw money at it and they're like, where's the ROI? We're not trying. I'm like, dude, influencer marketing, it's all trackable. But obviously it depends on what you want them to do and how you set up the funnel to allow them to do it in a way that is trackable. So it depends on what the objective is, but obviously it's trackable.
Neal, we spent 20 minutes talking before we even started talking, and I know that we could talk for a lot longer, but let's cut it short there. And if there's opportunities in the future, we'll pick it up again. I would like to ask you 3 sign-off questions, lightning questions, if I may. And I ask all my guests the same questions. Here we go. First one. What's the most important thing someone starting out raising money online, a developer raising money online, should keep in mind, do you think?
I believe that it goes back to educating the market. There have been Ponzi schemes. There have been investments that have gone sour. You provide a legitimate opportunity. This is legit, right? I mean, from what you told me, Adam, so I trust you. It's just that your industry was closed for centuries, sure. And now it's opened up, and it's only been very, very recent. People don't know. So I think be confident that you are helping people with a smart investment choice, but you need to educate them. And in educating, you need to build trust with them. They need to trust you. And I think if you can do that, that's more important than anything else.
Second question. What's the hardest lesson you have learned online?
The hardest lesson I've learned is, I like to give this example of Nordstrom, which is a famous high-end department store, which I know our audience is probably more American than global. Sometimes I have a global audience. I do, it was like I was speaking in Ireland. I teach the digital marketing, at the Irish Management Institute. And I was saying, isn't this great? And I showed a picture of a Reese's peanut butter cup. I'm like, it's a great combination. They're like, we don't get it. I'm like, chocolate peanut butter, it's a great combination. So yeah, we can be American centric, but for this video, we can be American centric. So I will say that what I've learned, what Nordstrom does is something I teach as well. If you were to go to their Instagram channel, it's all women's fashion. But if you were to go in their department store, it's everything, right? So, you don't have to be on every social network, and you don't have to be talking about every project that you have on every network. Pick the network's account and pick the content. If your company does a few different things, you don't have to do everything, right? Find the niche where there's an audience and that people resonate to. And part of this with social media today is a visual niche, right? Whether it's a photo or a video or, a story type of content or a blog, whatever it is, it's going to have to be visual. So I was a little bit late doing more in visual. I wish I had done more earlier and really taken advantage of that opportunity. And I think I'm playing catch up pretty fast, I think. And I'm a natural sort of speaker, so I enjoy being on video. So yeah, that would be, that's sort of something that I don't have any regrets in life, but because you're starting from scratch, become as visual, learn ways to, when we talk about the content, include as much visual content in what you do, and really spend time on an Instagram and really understand what sort of visuals resonate with people. Spend time on Pinterest, because Pinterest people actually spend more every time they click and buy something than on any other network. So I think probably for you, Pinterest might be of interest. I know it sounds bizarre, but I really do think so. Get to know these networks, and I think it's going to make it a lot easier for you when you start implementing some of the strategies we talked about.
Last question. What are your personal daily habits that keep you successful online?
I am big in the process. So you can just get completely lost in social media and waste a day's worth of time and go, holy smokes, I'm already on my dinner wine and I didn't accomplish anything today. So, you need to have a process in place. You need to say, okay, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes a day on this or 30 minutes a day on it. And when you create the process, some of it is going to be, I can't do it alone. I need to find an Adam, or I need to find a Neal, or I need to find a resource. Some of it's going to be, man, isn't there a tool that can make life easier for me? You're going to need a tool, but you're also going to need a process, because when you work with someone else, ideally you want to do it yourself, and you teach them, hey, when you do this, I don't want you doing it rogue on your own. I want you to follow these guidelines because I know that they work. And when you do that, you also know, hey, you're billing me for 2,000 hours a month when I could do it myself in 30 minutes a day. What's going on here? So that's why processes are really important. And so that's by far the biggest thing I have. Now, sometimes I spend more time on some social networks than others. And in fact, I'm working on a program, a community, where every month we do a new social network. And I'm a big believer in like sprints. So for the next month, I'm just going to do constant sprints on Instagram or constant on Pinterest, and really try to rev it up and see how I can raise the needle and create an even better process. So processes and sprints are my secrets to online success.
Wonderful. And I know I can tell that you are constantly sprinting.
You know what? What was it, Mark Zuckerberg? I move fast and break things. There's just so much opportunity. I mean, when I first started I started blogging back in 2008, and I was going to all these local networking meetings here in Orange County, California. And then I started getting people reach out to me, hey, we'd love to have you speak in LA. And then it's like, hey, we'd like to have you speak in Europe, in Asia. And I started getting a global audience. I'm like, why go local when I can go big? It's digital, it's online, right? And I honestly believe, now I don't know what the laws are about foreigners investing. Maybe they have to be a registered foreign investor. But I believe, right, just like the universities today spend so much money trying to get money from foreign students, which they've been very successful at, including our own UCs, to the detriment of California residents. But I'm going a little bit too far there. Outside the United States, there's a lot of money out there. There are a lot of people looking to park a lot of money in an American real estate investment. So I would have the same attitude of going big and really thinking global. And that's what's helped me become successful. There are no limits, and there is no competition, right? Nobody's going to do the exact same thing you're doing. And there's more than enough people. You know what? Maybe you find a WeChat influencer in China that's going to raise you more money than any American might. I don't know. But that is something else that, I would also think global. Maybe that's the second phase of this. But hopefully, Adam, between you and I and our Japanese and my Chinese, we have it all covered. And we'll be able to help out your listeners. And maybe they can drop us. Yeah.
I definitely should have learned Mandarin instead of Japanese when I did.
Fun fact, I learned Mandarin before Japanese. I was an Asian studies major. I did my junior year abroad in Beijing. So, but for social media, they're completely different social networks. So you need to have a partner there to be successful there. But yeah, back in our day, Japanese was booming. It was the bubble economy.
It was.
And so I hear you.
Neal, thanks so much. A true pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Hope we do it again.
That was master influencer Neal Schaffer talking about influencer marketing. If you are interested in learning how influencer marketing can be incorporated into your real estate crowdfunding efforts, please contact me directly at gowercrowd.com website. And be sure to watch the whiteboard workshop first so you know what you're getting into. In it, you will discover exactly what it takes to be an effective real estate syndicator raising money for your projects online. And you can access that whiteboard workshop at gowercrowd.com on the podcast page. Hey, thanks for listening, and thank you, Neal Schaffer, Master of Digital Marketing and Social Media, for spending your time with me today. That's all for this episode. I'll see you the next time. And for now, this is Dr. Adam Gower signing off.